Good afternoon and welcome everybody to today's webinar on supply chain optimization for the hospitality industry. My name is Andrew O'Neill of Hospitality Solutions NI, and I have been in the hospitality industry for nearly 3 decades now as an owner of bars, restaurants and a hotel, along with my family before me, going back to the 1940s. For the last number of years I've worked alongside business owners to improve the growth and profitability of their businesses, turning around previously working businesses back to health, or helping business owners sell their businesses on, successfully dispose of their businesses. Today's webinar will explain the supply chain in our industry, its importance to our operations, and how to ensure that we optimize or improve every aspect of it where we can. This is primarily aimed towards smaller operations and operators who make up the vast majority of the industry and will make up the majority of today's attendees, and who might not have the resources to have a department or even a staff member dedicated to this area. So hopefully after today you will take away some tips and advice on how to streamline your supply chain and ensure that everyone else within your operation plays their part. There will also be supplementary notes and top 10 takeaways available after today's webinar. So next slide, please. With the hospitality industry feeling the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic more than virtually every other sector, supply chain management is possibly more important than ever to this industry. The vast majority of the hospitality industry has sustained significant losses throughout this period, and to have a chance of returning to a position of profitability by the end of 2021, it is arguably more important now than even after the global financial collapse of 2007, 2008, that companies maintain a sharp focus on their bottom line. Next slide, please. So firstly, what is a supply chain? Well, a supply chain is a network between a company and its suppliers to produce and distribute a specific product to the final buyer. It consists of 6 major stages: demand planning, strategic sourcing, purchasing, logistics, receiving, and inventory management and payment. Next slide, please. So here we have an example of a simple restaurant supply chain, really showing you the various stages in that chain, from farm to fork. Yes, the fields are planted, the fruit and veg is grown, or the livestock grazes in the fields. Goes on, the product goes on to a processing factory to process it for freight. It'll then move on to the retailer. It moves through to you and moves through to the tables that your customers sit at. Next slide, please. So what is supply chain optimization? Well, this is simply the process of probing all aspects of the supply chain to deliver products and services to the customer at the lowest cost and highest profit with enhanced customer satisfaction. Next slide, please. So the first stage in the supply chain, demand planning, which is predicting customer demand for your staff, services, and products. Now, some events that might now simply be economically inviable. However, for the areas of the industry still able to, or about to, when we're allowed to open, trade with profit, you must devote time to accurately estimating daily, weekly, monthly stock and staffing requirements. How do you expect your guest numbers to be affected on a daily, weekly basis as opposed to 2018, 2019? I give those years as there's obviously no point in trying to base a business plan against your 2020 figures, as some businesses might only have been open for 4 weeks up to now from the first lockdown in March. So again, look back in 2018, 2019. If you can make a graph of it and see where your peaks and troughs were and how demand was showing up in your revenues. We do have a vaccine coming, but by the time it is through the whole population, that could be the summer of 2021 or maybe the third quarter of 2021. So bear that in mind. Do you expect guests to change their behaviours post-pandemic when you're looking ahead now for next year? In your restaurant, for example, might they stay longer as a result of pent-up demand after being locked down, or might they still be wary of any social contact and shorten their normal stay in your premises? And if so, how would that impact on, say, their menu choices? Might they be just one course only, main course only, maybe just one drink, as opposed to maybe ordering a bottle of wine between customers, or even 2 bottles of wine between a couple? So these are all aspects that you're going to have to take into account when you're planning ahead for 2021. How many staff will you require for daily, weekly service and events? Well, first of all, in this, I would recommend that you speak with your staff and make it clear to them that you need your staff to be as flexible as you've had to be over the last period of months. Today, more than ever before in the industry, flexibility from your staff is vital. Explain to them the difficulties involved and why you might not be able to guarantee a minimum amount of hours. The staff will obviously be fully aware of the difficulties of the industry, but you're better having these open and frank conversations, and everybody knows what's expected of them and what to expect for themselves over the next period of time. Everybody needs security, so I would recommend that you have these open and frank discussions. With staff planning for events will normally be pre-booked and on occasion prepaid. So staffing calculation may be easier in this department. Are you taking deposits to mitigate against no shows? Well, what is your policy on this? What's your policy on deposits and full payments? This has been very problematic in the industry. People back at the start of this pandemic they were booking 5 and 6 restaurants and maybe going to one and not letting the other restaurants know that they weren't going to be turning up, resulting in a very significant loss of revenue throughout the industry. So are you taking deposits at the minute? Your numbers have been drastically reduced through social distancing. So some places are taking £10 per head, and that's coming off the final bill, and that mitigates against no shows, obviously. That £10 is non-refundable in the event of a no show. So have a very clear policy from the outset, and make that make your customers and guests aware of that policy, and it'll prevent any subsequent disputes arising out of any such situation. On-demand planning, it obviously can be undermined at any time by new government restrictions, so keep this in mind at all times. Next slide, please. Strategic sourcing. This is a procurement process that continuously improves and reevaluates the purchasing activities of a business in order to reduce costs, improve margin and stability, and enhance customer satisfaction. So it's very important to meet with your suppliers regularly in this period of great uncertainty. So, especially now when supply chains will be severely disrupted through COVID, and even more so when Brexit comes around in the not too distant future. Make time to meet with your supplier regularly at a convenient time, maybe a pre-arranged time on a regular basis, that you're sitting down having a cup of coffee, and you are the supplier is making you aware of all times if they have any issues with their own supply chains, with manufacturers delivering to them. So just try to be ahead of the curve at all times. Excuse me. This relationship with your suppliers, it's very important. They're a stakeholder in your business, and the supplier, as well as you, want your business to be successful. Why do you use a particular supplier? Might they be a personal friend, a local supplier, provide the best price, might have a guaranteed delivery slot, or just overall reliability? Whatever your decision is on this, this will suit all individual businesses. Make these types of decisions to suit their own business, but constantly monitor your supplier's performance. If you're using a local a local supplier, are you a prominent shop local restaurant? Are you using this as part of your marketing? Obviously, if this is your USP, well then you're obviously going to be using these local suppliers, but again, you can still talk to them about price at all times. Are your suppliers having any difficulty sourcing particular items? Are there any increased delays? Again, it's this dialogue with your supplier. You'll be aware of this, and if you think that there might be an issue in the future sourcing any of these particular items, well then you're forewarned, so you've time to mitigate that risk. Will your supplier guarantee supply and quality of stock? Again, it's all in your communications, and I would imagine that very few suppliers are in a position now to guarantee supply of really anything, unless those products haven't far to travel. They're locally sourced. How are you addressing possible future sourcing issues as a result of COVID-19 and Brexit? Well, COVID-19 has been with us now for quite a while, so we are aware of what these sourcing issues are. Obviously, we have Brexit coming around soon, which we imagine is going to create issues with freight coming into the island of Ireland. So possibly now is a time to look at more localized suppliers, and try to mitigate against any hold-ups at any of the ports, which everybody seems to be predicting at the minute. Do you have contingency supply options in the event of your supplier not being able to deliver your requirements? Similar to above, contingency supply options might be the local cash and carry, but just keep that in mind. Also, speak with your industry colleagues. Who do they recommend? Which suppliers do they recommend, and why? It's always a really good practice to be in, to just always compare and contrast, and you're always going to pick up little bits of information and advice from your colleagues. So I would encourage you to to do that. And lastly, on strategic sourcing, I would say don't expect your suppliers to get it right 100% of the time. They too are having difficulty with sourcing materials and produce. Suppliers, I know at the minute, are having problems with the manufacturers within their own supply chain. So it's a difficult time for everybody, suppliers as well as operators. Next slide, please. Purchasing. This is the process of acquiring materials, components, and services from another firm. So what are your credit terms? Is this the optimum option for your business? Firstly, I would say it's possibly a timely time to revisit your credit terms with individual suppliers and ensure that these terms work optimally for your business. What way are you paying your suppliers? Are you paying them via DD or by check or transfer when financially convenient to your business? How is this working out for you? If you're paying your suppliers by direct debit, are all these DDs hitting your account on the same day, or are some mid-month, spaced out through the month end? If not, do you need to amend some payment days to ease any strain on your bank account? And I do understand that at the minute everybody's bank accounts are under significant strain. So again, just something you might benefit from having a look at. Has your supplier previously offered fixed term agreements for pricing for 3, 6, or 12 months? Will they renew an agreed fixed term pricing structure? Well, again, this might not now be an option, but I would say do not be afraid to ask. Some suppliers might have fixed their own pricing for up to 12 months further along their own supply chain. So it's possibly an option, but I would say certainly ask the question. I suppose they say if you don't ask, you don't get. Some local suppliers have experienced up to 95% decline in their own businesses, prompting them to demand cash on demand or reduced credit to ease their own cash flows and protect their own solvency position. Do you have a policy on this? Again, just why are you using that supplier, a local supplier? Are you a shop local supporter? Is this what your bar or restaurant is known for? Would you be in a position if your local supplier came to you and was asking for reduced credit? I do, from speaking with various operators in the industry, some operators actually at the minute prefer to pay for some or even the majority of supplies on a cash on demand basis, as they then know what cash resources they have to operate with. It's not going to suit everybody, but there are some operators out there that cash on demand actually suits their business. Ask your supplier how you can decrease cost or at least maintain current costs. Options might be increased delivery drop sizes or reduction in the frequency of deliveries. Is this practical for your business, and how will this impact your cash flow? So firstly, are you in a position to order larger drops? This has to be weighed up against the possibility of this produce or products not being sold before you have paid for them. So in effect, if you're ordering larger drops to bring the unit cost down, you're actually negating the benefit of that if you are holding stock for any sort of period of time after you've already paid for that stock. Do you have adequate storage facilities to manage less frequent deliveries? Again, this is a practical concern, as there's no point agreeing to this if it's simply not feasible. Purchasing groups, membership of a group can result in increased margin across all departments. Well, are you aware of any purchasing or brokering groups you can join to achieve enhanced discount on products and services? Purchasing groups will generally have secured 12-month fixed term pricing with their own suppliers. Just recently speaking with a large group based in the Republic of Ireland, they have even managed to negotiate further price reductions through the COVID period, and also even push back on price increases that might have been coming now in the new year. Although they report that their own supply chains are also disrupted and in a state of complete disarray because of manufacturing challenges, within their own chains. So it's very difficult out there to try and smooth the operation of your supply chain. Can you avail of industry association discounts? Are you a member of any trade association? Generally, trade associations will have associate members who will offer discounts to members. I'm thinking of, I suppose, insurance is one area that certainly discounts are offered to members of Hospitality Ulster, or I think to the Hotel Federation also. So you've just to consider joining a trade organisation if you're not in one. Obviously, you'll have to weigh up the annual cost of subscription and against really the benefits of membership, which will include discounts from your associate members. Again, speak with your industry colleagues. Are you buying as competitively as they are? And simply, if not, why not? And on purchasing, I would just say, remember, suppliers need customers too. A good supplier will help you through this period. So just again, keep your communications regular with your supplier, and keep the dialogue open at all times, and explain with your supplier any difficulties that you might have at all. Next slide, please. Logistics. This is the part of the supply chain that deals with the planning and control of the movement and storage of goods and services from the point of origin to their final destination. Are you confident that your supplier stores and moves products and produce to you in a safe and hygienic manner? Well, have you been to your supplier's facilities? Generally, good, reliable suppliers like to show off their facilities to their customers. It's always a worthwhile exercise for yourself and key staff, as you'll always pick up tips and advice, and it also enhances your knowledge of the supply chain, and you can talk then with confidence to your own staff and interested customers about your own suppliers and how professional they are, and it's just good to know peace of mind how your suppliers are operating with your produce before it comes to you. Are your storage facilities adequate and well maintained? Do you have maintenance contracts for your refrigeration? Is there separation within your storage refrigeration for different stock? Are the risks of cross-contamination mitigated? Very important that certainly refrigerated stock is stored in the optimum manner. Dry goods stores, you're not storing goods on the floor. There's air circulation. There's no dampness. Do you have pest control in these areas? Are your staff trained in safe storage? Excuse me. Are you using the right containers for storage? You know, opened boxes aren't, there's not full boxes stored up on top of open boxes of products, which I see sometimes when I go into clients' businesses. Um, Safe storage training also obviously will mitigate against the risks of any sort of claim coming in. So just make sure that you're training your staff in how to maintain a orderly stockroom. Is your storage area within easy reach for continuity of service? Well, is it going to cause an issue during service when you run out of something that's vital to the preparation of a dish? And how, how handy are these stores? Do you need a satellite store, possibly between your kitchen and your main stores? It's just, again, it's something just to keep focused on, as obviously if somebody is having to leave your kitchen in the middle of a busy service to go and get supplies, well then that has a knock-on effect in the level of service you're providing to your guests. Do you prepare food in one area and serve it in another? How is the food transported between kitchen and this maybe a separate building, exterior function area? Do you use hot boxes, for example? Again, something just to be very cognizant of. Do you have a delivery service? How are you confident that your food is arriving to your customers' houses in in as best a condition as you can achieve? Do you have insulated, padded bags, for example, that sort of thing? Excuse me. Next slide, please. Receiving, simply, this is the taking delivery of ordered items. So what processes have you for receiving goods? Are staff instructed in your receivables process? Is it maybe one person that handles all of this, or is it really just whoever's on hand at the time will take the orders in, which I suppose in smaller businesses we can all relate to that. So firstly, match the delivery to the purchase order. So hopefully you will have written records of whatever your order, the order that you've placed. I would certainly get into the habit of using purchase orders, and ideally in triplicate. So you give the supplier a copy, you keep a copy, and a copy would go to the accounts payable department, obviously if there is. Check products for damage and return if necessary. Weigh items which are purchased according to their weight, so expensive produce such as a side of beef or fish, chicken, that sort of thing. It's important that you weigh this to make sure that you're getting what you're paid for. Allocate suitable storage space for the delivery. So ideally you would have this done in advance of any large delivery coming. So yeah, it's just to ease the operation. Input the delivery into your EPOS system, if applicable. Not all companies would use their EPOS software to input delivery into it, but it is time consuming, and smaller businesses can't possibly just devote the time to do that, but it's certainly a practice that I would recommend. And it's interesting how much of the capability of your EPOS system that you're possibly never using. And I would certainly advise you to explore and see what else your EPOS system can do for you, not just in the receiving aspect of this chain, but in other areas too. So once you've done all that, you would then notify the accounts payable department or the relevant person once that you're confident that you've checked the delivery and it is as according to the order that you placed. I would say that this aspect of the chain is as important as any other, as lack of vigilance here will undermine margin. Inventory, or sorry, next slide, please. Inventory management and payment. This is the process of ordering, storing, and using a company's inventory and efficiency of the payment process. So on inventory management, are you maximizing the capabilities of your EPOS system? So just following on from the comments regarding this in the receivables stage, again, very important. If you can devote some time to learn more about this system that you have and how it will assist you in inventory management. Stock taking, have you a system in place? Is it weekly, fortnightly, or monthly? Is this in-house or contracted out? It's very important to have a regular stock take within your business. It might not, you mightn't want to do it weekly or fortnightly, possibly monthly, even quarterly. But you need to have an idea of how you're achieving your GP. I would certainly recommend that if you haven't actioned this, I would be putting this in place as soon as possible. You might only ever speak to your accountant twice a year or 3 times a year, and you might only get, you may not have management accounts. So, you know, sometimes by the time the accountant comes back to you and identifies an issue with the stock or your GP, if you're not meeting your accountant on a regular basis, well then that information is coming to you too late. So again, I would implement a regular stock take. Is perishable stock being stored correctly to avoid waste? So is it properly sealed and you're getting the optimum shelf life out of the products as you possibly can? Do you hold a certain amount of buffer stock or safety stock? Excuse me, will this last until the next delivery? And how is this calculated? Well, safety stock, it's quite simply calculated. The maximum amount of daily usage by the maximum lead time in days before your next delivery would come to you. And that is minus the average daily usage by the average lead time in days. So you input your figures there, and that will give you an idea of the amount of safety stock that you would hold that would get you out of a hole in the event of a delivery not arriving for whatever reason. Next slide, please. And in the payment aspect of this, have you a payment policy that includes clear instructions on the payment of bills, which can be made available to suppliers upon request? So just for clarity, do all of your suppliers know exactly when they should expect you to pay them, whether that be weekly, monthly, or whether it be weekly, monthly? Are you adhering to your agreed payment terms? It's very important. You know, if you're making it, if you are striking a deal and you sign up to the terms that you agree, you know, you stand by them. So prompt payment to suppliers will help your relationship with suppliers, make suppliers keen to work with you, increase suppliers' confidence in you as a business partner, enable you to negotiate better deals. It will help you to avoid late payment interest charges, especially on energy suppliers, that type of supplier. And prompt payment of bills, it signals sound financial well-being for your business. Next slide, please. So what are the challenges within the supply chain management at the minute? Well, we have obviously COVID-19 and supply chains for the last 6-7 months have been all over the place. It's very problematic, continues to be a major issue, and the problem will continue into the large part of next year. Brexit is an oncoming issue that has thrown up a lot of uncertainty. We just really don't know how Brexit is going to play out for for us here in Northern Ireland. It's we're not getting very much clarification at all as regards to the supply of goods coming in and what the problems might be. On a micro level, within your own businesses, multi-departmental ordering obviously becomes a problem. So I would advise you to, where possible, centralize your purchasing and have one person doing it, ideally on a selected day of the week. Just there, several staff members are involved. It becomes, it can become an issue with different people ordering their own requirements from the same supplier. A problem with the challenge in the supply chain management is also uniformity of quality, which is, again, it's always going to be an issue, but it's all you can do is monitor this as diligently as possible. Human error within the supply chain is obviously causes problems. We're all human and we can over-order, forget to order. Human error is just something that, again, you try and mitigate the risks of as much as possible. Unforeseeable logistical problems. If you're expecting delivery and your delivery driver has the engine is blown on his van at 4 o'clock on a Friday with all of your meat for the weekend, well, that's obviously a risk that you just can't mitigate for. So that there are there's going to be any amount of unforeseen problems within the supply chain, but when you're on top of your business, you generally, hopefully, you'll be agile enough to address these issues. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, I would say that global supply chains are in a turbulent state as a result of the pandemic, and any sort of business planning is difficult in these times. You will not always get it right, but do strive to get it right more times than not. And lastly, I congratulate each of you for maintaining your businesses through these challenging times, and I'm confident that the hospitality industry and NI will come back stronger than ever on the other side of this. Thank you very much for joining me today in today's webinar. Thank you.